All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro talking a little Vegas Golden Knights hockey. Disappointing, to say the least. Shocking, disappointing, whatever word you want to use. Embarrassing. What Marcia showed, he used some other colorful words to describe what took place in Game 7 last night with the blown call. And unfortunate to say the least. But the guy we have with us on the line right now, he is a fantastic Golden Knights insider. He does a fantastic job for TV and radio. His knowledge of Vegas Golden Knights, insurmountable, and we're very lucky to have him on the line. Gary Lawless joining us right now. Gary, I appreciate you taking some time. How are you?
I'm great, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Sure, appreciate it very much. So let me get right down to it. Can you tell us what the referees said that they saw, what they told Turk, what the rule interpretation is, and what do you think they should have done?
Yeah. Well, they told Turk that that they thought he cross-checked him in the face, and anyone who's seen the replay knows that that's not what happened. I'll tell you what happened. The blood on the ice put them in a situation where they made a call based on the result, not on the act, which you can't do.
Right.
Because if you watch the play, Cody Eakin puts he doesn't, there shouldn't have been a penalty at all. It wasn't a cross check.
Right.
He shoved him with a cross check motion, which players do all the time after a faceoff. He's trying to get through Pavelski to get to the point to block the shot and to defend. And Pavelski's in his way. So he's pushing him out of the way. That's a legal maneuver. Unfortunately, Joe Pavelski falls, slips,
right,
and suffers, injury. But that's a result of him stumbling and falling, not Cody Eakin pushing him, because actually he makes contact with Stastny after. So there shouldn't have been a penalty called on the play at all. It should have been, an unfortunate incident, and Pavelski should have been removed, and everyone should have worried about his health, but it should have been 5-on-5. And, quite frankly, if that call isn't made, there's no excuse for the Golden Knights allowing 4 power play goals. That's very unfortunate. But if the major penalty isn't called, we're talking about Vegas and Colorado right now.
No doubt about it. So, Gary, you've been doing this a long time. Okay, you're a veteran. Okay, so my question to you is, first of all, have you ever seen anything like this, let alone in a Game 7, number one? And number two, don't you think the NHL needs to change their rules a little bit? For example, if you can take a look at an offside on a goal, why can't you take a look at something like this that can change the outcome of a game from a 2-minute minor penalty to a 5-minute major?
Well, it shouldn't have been a penalty. Okay, so that's the first thing. But yeah, absolutely, there should have been. Listen, I work for the Golden Knights, so what I say is obviously tainted and biased. But Elliot Friedman, Darren Dreger, all of the top insiders in the league, all my colleagues from when I was on that side of the business, we're all weighing in last night saying this was an injustice. And if the Friedman's tweet was, if this doesn't convince the NHL that they need video review for major penalties, nothing will. This is what is lost here is at minimum 2 home dates for the Vegas Golden Knights. Which is tens of millions of dollars when you factor in the revenue from tickets, revenue from sponsorship, revenue from concessions, revenue from merchandise. It's I don't know how much it is, but it's north of $10 million for. And then if they advance, if they were to maybe they had 3 home dates in the next series, and then 2 or 3 in the next, and then the money can get up north of $50-60 million. So that's one aspect. The other part of it is it's really hard to win the Stanley Cup. And with Tampa, Calgary, and Winnipeg, and had Vegas won last night, San Jose all out of the way, the Golden Knights would have been in a prime position to take a run. To take a run at the Stanley Cup. and that's lost. That doesn't come back. So for the players, for the coaching staff, for management, it's this is like a career-defining blow. So absolutely, there needs to be an adjustment to the rule book. What happened last night is a complete miscarriage of justice and cannot be allowed to happen again to another team.
And this isn't good for the NHL either. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the last game 6 of this series was the highest-rated game in, the last 5 years for the NHL?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Vegas has become a franchise that everybody in the world wants to watch. And, the San Jose Sharks are a really good team. They weren't good enough to beat the Vegas Golden Knights this year. So that's what we should be watching in the second round. It should be Vegas and Colorado.
Do you think that suffering injustice like this, as you just mentioned, will actually unite the Vegas Golden Knights fan base for next year?
The fan base is united. This is the best fan base in hockey, and I'm Canadian. Okay, I grew up, less than an hour away from Maple Leaf Gardens.
Yeah,
wasn't a Leaf fan. I was a Montreal Canadiens fan, but I've been everywhere. I've been in every building. I've been in playoff games, Stanley Cup final games, you name it. Olympics. This is the best fan base in the world when it comes to hockey.
I agree with you, Gary, and I think after October 1, I know you would agree, the way that the Knights just brought people together and helped people get through such a difficult time, I could not agree with you more. Listen, Gary, I know you got to run. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And, hey, we got to wait 5 or 6 months, right? We got to wait 5 or 6 months, and the season will be right around the corner, right?
You bet. I enjoyed my time with you.
Thank you.
Please have me come back. Okay?
I would love to. Thank you, Gary.
Hey, thanks
appreciate
a lot, Gary.
All right, there you go. Gary Lawless does a fantastic job as a Knights insider, TV and radio. He really is a very knowledgeable guy. And, yeah, JD, I couldn't agree with him more on that. The fans are already united. I mean, yeah, this could make them even stronger.
I'm just saying, in year one, the shooting was kind of the thing that united the fan base. In year two, I think that this injustice, that this chance at the Stanley Cup being literally robbed from them will play towards in the Knights' favor in year three.
I can't really even explain what an injustice it was last night. Look, you're the same way, JD. We've been around sports our whole lives, whether we played sports or watched it, right? I've been a huge NBA fan my whole life, college basketball, NHL, you name it. Major League Baseball. We love the postseason, right? We love the playoffs. We love Game 7s. They're rare. They don't happen very often. How many Game 7s in any sport do we get to watch, right? So I'm watching the game last night, and I'm going to be honest with you, I was in shock.
Yeah, my question is, how does the ref that made this call not factor in the fact that the Knights are going to be very, very tired? This is Game 7.
That has nothing to do with it.
I'm just saying, though.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with it.
When you're making a call,
you're overthinking it.
I'm not, though, but when you make a call like that based on blood being on the ground and based on the fan base reacting the way they did.
Yeah, but they're not thinking like that.
These refs
it's very simple.
These refs should never ref another game.
Well, they will.
At the NHL level.
Let me oversimplify it. I think perhaps you're overthinking it. Look, the refs saw him on the ground, on the ice.
I get that.
They assumed that it was a cross-check to the face. There's the problem with that. Assume. You cannot assume something. You have to see it, especially in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. You can't assume something. They lied to Gallant. One of the refs told Gallant that he took a cross-check to the face. That was completely untrue. They made an assumption. They were wrong. Instead of making an assumption, only go by what you see. And at very worst case scenario, and by the way, I agree with Gary Lawless. It wasn't a penalty at all, probably. But worst case scenario, okay, give him 2 minutes. I don't think anybody would have really argued with that. Give him a 2-minute minor. But they didn't do that. They guessed. And you have to go to replay. And if anything comes good out of this for the Knights, and certainly they're not going to be able to play any more hockey this season, unfortunately. But if anything comes out good, it won't be just for the Knights. It'll be for the entire league. Go to frickin' replay in a situation like this. We'll take a couple more phone calls at 257-5396, 702-257-5396. We had Danny Negreanu on, who is a Vegas Golden Knights super fan. He's fantastic. We had Chris Matthews on last hour from Channel 8, and we just had the great Gary Lawless, who does a fantastic job as a Knights insider. They're all saying the same thing, and I agree with all of them. This was a travesty. The refs stole the game. Again, that number to call, 257-5396. Steve, you're next up on the Vegas Take. How are you?
Hey, guys. I listen to you guys all the time. I grew up in Philadelphia, so I grew up watching hockey.
Oh, the Flyers, man. I remember Brind'Amour and Lindros and Ron Hextall.
Oh, yeah, way before that. I mean, I grew up watching Bobby Clark and those guys.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
way.
I'll tell you what. When I saw the momentum of that game last night, Vegas was running away with that game. Now, this has happened several times over the years in the NHL to slow the game down.
Right.
Now, first of all, that whole thing looked like a setup. And when I mean it means like a setup, the situation that guy from the Sharks got himself in,
right?
Pretty much, he got caught between two guys.
Yeah.
Nobody cross-checked that guy at all.
It was a minor.
He hit the ground.
It was a minor cross-check. Well, here, Steve, and you tell me if you disagree with this or not. But most of the time during a face-off, you see a lot of players do what Cody Eakin did. Call it a. It wasn't much of a cross-check.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And now the guy that got hurt from the Sharks, whatever his name was, Pavelski.
Yes. Yeah, Pavelski. He's the captain. Yep.
Okay. Now, did they say what the injury to him was?
I don't know. I'm going to just have an assumption that it was probably a concussion, but it wasn't because of a cross-check.
You know what? I would not be surprised if we don't hear that.
Yeah.
Because it almost looked like, I don't want to say this is what happened, but, okay, maybe the guy broke a tooth or something or got a bloody nose.
Right.
But it almost looked like, to me, like, kind of like, it looked really phony, man. Like he was a hell of an actor. And
Look, okay. Let me tell you what I think as far as acting. Yes, I do think he flopped. No question. I think he didn't just lose his balance. I do believe that it was a flop. However, I've
gotten hit harder playing hockey when I was a kid.
I hear what you're saying, Steve, but I am going to say this as well. He hit his head on the ice pretty hard. That was a bad injury.
Shoulder and then his head hit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was
his shoulder took a blow.
Yeah, he right, but he took a tough hit, and I don't.
Sure he did. He got sandwiched between two guys.
Right, and I'm not saying that's Cody Eakin's fault.
Checked him, and they didn't. If you notice, Brian, that game, the refs were calling penalties on the Golden Knights to slow the game down.
Right.
When they went up 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, and then that. And I said, uh-oh.
Well, I'm going to oversimplify it. I'm going to oversimplify it for you, Steve. The bottom line is I'm not going to say that the fix was in, because if the fix was in, the game wouldn't have gone to overtime, number one. Number two, I am going to agree with you that Pavelski did probably flop, but he also hit his head on the ice, and that's if that's happened to anybody, you know that's.
No, I know, but does that draw a penalty?
Well, it shouldn't have. You just heard Gary Lawless come on. He said that it should.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and
probably not.
Right. Now, you know what? I could see, first of all, a major was crazy.
Steve, at the very worst, Steve, we wouldn't have all been complaining if they just gave him a 2-minute minor. Okay, worst case scenario.
Right, I would have said, well, that's a bad call, but a major?
It's not going to affect the outcome of the game if they score one goal there. The Knights are still up 3-1. 95% of the time they're going to win that game, Steve. But I agree. Hey, good call, Steve. He's right. He's right, by the way. Philadelphia is quite the sports town. And I remember back in the day, Eric Lindros, Rob Brind'Amour, Ron Hextall in net. The Flyers were really, really good back then. I remember those great teams of the early to mid-'90s. 257-5396. Robert, you're next on the Vegas Take. How are you?
Hi, good evening. How are you guys doing today?
Good, Robert. What's up?
Hey, I just want to clarify a point that regarding the penalty.
Yes.
I've been in hockey for 55 years, sir. The thing is that was a cross-checking penalty, and in the NHL rules statute, if you read it, I forgot the number.
I read it.
But if there's a 2-minute penalty accompanied by any facial damage or any blood, it's an automatic 5 minutes. It's not.
Minutes. Well, hold on a second.
It is automatic.
There has to be intent. Intent is a part of the rule. The refs, that's a judgment call. The refs have to look and see if there was intent to physically harm. Now, I'm going to tell you something, and you're going to disagree with me on this, Robert, and that's fine. But on most face-offs, I would say at least 60% of the face-offs, you see what Cody Eakin did, and almost more than half of the face-offs, you'll see somebody do that. It wasn't even that hard of a cross-check, and I do believe that Pavelski flopped a little bit, but in no way, shape, or form, based on the rule, should the referees have done what they did. They thought They guessed, and they thought that it was a cross-check to the face. That's what they thought, and they were wrong.
Okay. Just want to get on to another. I know you have to get going, but another subject. The thing is that with the Knights, the coach didn't actually help his team, because when that momentum switched on that 5-minute major, I know he didn't use a timeout, but he could have used the oldest trick in the book. Send out the second string goaltender, tear a lace or a strap, switch the goalies, and that'll be at least 5 to 6 minutes because of a strap to break it. And the thing is that then that second string goalie has to play till the next whistle.
Why would you do that, though?
Switch him back.
Why would you do that? As well as Fleury was playing, why would you ruin his rhythm, and why would you do that?
No. The rhythm, this is after the first 2 goals. The momentum switched drastically to San Jose.
So you would put Malcolm Subban in net, a guy that's never played in a Game 7 before.
No, you're not listening to me. All he has to do is take Fleury's place, and the next whistle, you get him out. But there's also, you break a strap.
I understand. I understand what you're saying. I thought you were going to. I thought you were going to criticize Gallant by saying, "Well, you probably should have taken a timeout after the first or second goal." That I agree with you on. But as far as switching the goaltenders, I guess Robert, we're going to have to agree to disagree on that one. But I appreciate the phone call, and we all can agree on this one. Certainly, that was a real injury. Pavelski did not fake the injury. He might have flopped, but he didn't fake the injury. 257-5396, the number to call. Let's go to Rick. Rick, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind, Rick?
Hey, how's it going?
Doing good, Rick. What's up?
Hey, I don't know if anybody's brought up this point. I was listening earlier, and then I missed a big portion, and then I just got back on.
Well, whose fault is that, Rick?
Has anyone identified the fact that the refs did not have a penalty called prior to the end of when they blew the whistle? Not either referee had his arm raised.
No, you're right. You're right. Rick, that is an excellent point, and I brought that up in my first segment with Danny Negreanu.
Okay.
Here's why that is such an important point that you bring up, Rick, and we did talk about it briefly. Because if Pavelski doesn't hit the ice, forget about even the fact that there was blood. If he doesn't fall down and hit the ice, they don't even call a 2-minute minor.
Exactly. That's where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I mean you're absolutely right. That's what's the big travesty.
I've been playing hockey my whole life, and the ref never had that play called until he was hurt, and then Thornton got in his face. The fans are taunting.
You know what I compare this to a little bit? I'm gonna compare this to basketball. Just it might be a stupid analogy, but I've been a basketball official for 20 years. A guy's going up for a dunk, right? And there's minimal contact. The guy makes the dunk, the ref usually isn't going to call foul, right? But if an NBA player misses a dunk, you'll notice this in the NBA. It happens all the time. They'll make a late call 2 or 3 seconds late, even if there was minimal contact. Same thing with this hockey thing. It kind of that same analogy where none of the referees on the ice saw this clearly, right? And you're right. If they did, one of them would have had their arm up. Nobody saw it, number one, and then they just reacted to Pavelski on the ground convulsing. That's what this is all about. Here's my huge problem with this. Besides the guesswork, Rick, and we all know they were completely guessing, and you can't do that in Game 7 with 10 minutes to go. They went over to Gallant, and they lied, and they said that Eakin cross-checked him in the face. That's a lie.
Right. Blatant lie.
Yeah.
And if you want to call that a cross-check, I'm okay with that. But I'll tell you what, you're going to have to call that every other shift because that happens 40, 50 times a game.
And you heard what I just said to the last caller. I said 60% of face-offs, when you see what Cody Eakin did, it happens on 6 out of 10 face-offs. You know, we'd have.
That's why we got the penalty.
Yeah, it's insane. It's ridiculous. So, you know, I'm sure you would agree with this, Rick. I think that they have to go to replay with these types of situations. This cannot happen again. Yeah. This cannot happen again. It's kind of like in the NBA and college basketball, or I believe in the NBA with 2 minutes to go, they can now go to replays to find out where the ball was off of. This is one of those situations where you call a 5-minute. People don't understand this. You do, Rick. You've played the game, and you understand the game.
The guy's not coming out of the box.
Yeah. Yeah, people don't understand.
He got kicked out.
Yeah, for some of the members of the media, Rick, in this town that are saying the ref didn't end the Golden Knights season and so on and so forth, they don't understand the difference between how big of a difference it is from a 2-minute minor to a 5-minute major. In a 2-minute minor, you can only score 1 goal, and then the power play is over. It is an enormous. You know what I say? Going back to basketball, Rick, it's kind of like you following out your best player or your starting point guard. It's that big of an impact. Maybe this was even more.
Yeah, and again, he's your best penalty killer.
Yeah, Yeah.
Or one of your best.
Absolutely. Cody Eakin is absolutely.
Frustrating.
I agree, Rick. I feel your frustration, my man. I appreciate the call. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rick. Appreciate it. Good to hear from you. 257-5396, the number to call again, 702-257-5396. We're talking about, of course, Vegas Golden Knights last night. Can you believe it? I haven't mentioned Donald Trump's name once, JD, in 90 minutes. Can you believe it? That was the first time.
It's a bit refreshing.
Yeah, we had a few callers that brought up Hillary Clinton.
They tried to.
Yeah.
They tried to spin
trying to spin.
Tried to add the political spin to it.
Blame the Democrats for what happened last night for the Vegas Golden Knights.
I applaud the effort. That's not easy to do.
No,
so
it's
well
not.
done.
Yeah, we had one guy call up who was talking about Vladimir Putin.
He was talking about Putin and Russian mobsters actually owning the NHL and it being a major conspiracy last night.
Apparently, that was on top of Vladimir Putin's agenda. He wanted to fix the Golden Knights game. According to one caller, at least. Just completely ridiculous.
I don't know, situations like this are why the NHL is the fourth sport in the United States of America.
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons for that, and I think the number one reason is it's not a great sport to watch on TV. It is a fantastic sport to watch in person. It is a tough sport to follow on television. And I really believe that is one of the main reasons why.
It is hurting the NHL not having the Golden Knights advance.
Yeah,
the Knights are good for ratings. The people want to cheer for the Knights. They want to know what the Knights are doing. I mean, there's Knight fans all over the country, and you can't say that about a lot of hockey teams outside of maybe the Bruins and the Red Wings. You know, the Blue Bloods, if you will.
Hockey, in my opinion, is the best sport in the world to watch live in person. To me, there's nothing better than to watch a live NHL game behind the glass. But again, it does not resonate on television. You know, you look at the NFL, I would say the opposite for the NFL. It's a fantastic sport to watch on TV, not a great sport to watch in person. You're so far from the action. Basketball, to me, it doesn't matter whether it's on television or you're watching it in person. To me, that's academic. But, hockey's one of those sports. You remember when they tried the hockey puck? This was years ago with it looked like fireworks coming out of the back of the hockey puck. They did that on television to try to transcend it, to try to make it a better sport to watch on TV. That didn't work very long. That didn't last very long. Hockey is such a fantastic sport and a difficult sport to play. It's such a great sport to watch. Nothing better on the planet, as far as I'm concerned, than sitting behind the glass in the corner for an NHL hockey game, playoffs or regular season. It is unbelievable. It is phenomenal. But with that being said, yeah, you're right. Hockey, they don't get the viewership that they would normally get some of these other sports. You're right. And this certainly is not going to help. A lot of Vegas Golden Knights fans that are disgruntled, no question about it. A lot of fans that are very upset of what transpired. That cannot happen. Can you imagine if that happened in the NBA in a Game 7, where a ref, say, called a technical foul on somebody and that was the end of it?
Yeah, like on Steph Curry.
Yeah, I mean
or Kevin Durant.
That just can't happen. We all agree it can't happen. We will continue this discussion.
I hope that Knights fans don't lose confidence in the NHL and don't lose interest in this hockey team because of what just took place.
Yeah, well,
because that was literal robbery.
Speaking of
and as Gary Lawless just stated, I mean, this could cost the Knights as a franchise $50-60 million.
Potentially, it could cost Foley a lot of money. There's no question. If I was interviewing him, I would ask him that. I would love to get that answer. But speaking of things happening, things getting done last night. This was the second story on SportsCenter last night. The first story was the Blazers. Yeah, Damian Lillard did something pretty spectacular last night. And Luke Walton also, he's in some trouble. Is he going to remain the Sacramento Kings head coach? We'll get to those questions coming up next. Jamison Welsh from Drive Time Sports will be joining us. We'll take a break. Be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN.